What's up, everyone? My name is Aly, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. Six years later, we're overjoyed to welcome Alexander and Natalie back onto the show. Their long-awaited sophomore record, Susu, came out last April after simmering in the creation process for quite some time. The band reaches a new collaborative high and rediscovers their love of music making, resulting in their finest work yet. It's good to have the boys back, both for an interview and for a live session, which you can watch now on our YouTube. Without further ado, here's my interview with Noah, Wilson, Eric, and Sam on the Ear Coffee Podcast. And we're very excited to have them back on the show. At least Noah was on the show a few years ago, but before I get ahead of myself, I'll pass that over to the four folks we have. I don't know, I'm talking in the plural. I have across from me. Do some introductions and kind of give us the fill-in, and we'll go from there. Thanks again for being here, y'all.
What's up? I'm Noah. I've been here before. Do you want us to do like roles?
Yeah.
I sing and play guitar and write the songs.
You dance.
I dance sometimes too.
Pop and lock.
I'm Eric. First time in the murder house. I play bass.
This isn't the first time a band you've played with has done an interview, because Nate's been here.
Yeah, that's right. I was not there for that. Yes.
That was COVID, and yeah, you did not get murdered. But
Yep.
I don't know why I said that.
Didn't get.
I'm Sam, and I play guitar and I sing sometimes in the band.
And I'm Wilson, and I also play guitar and sing sometimes in the band.
Cool. Thanks, y'all. Just because it's been, I think, not just 6 years since a record has come out, but I think that was around probably pretty close to the time that Joe interviewed Noah to talk about that record. And a few singles have come out, like some other music has come out since then, but this is the latest record is kind of being a big return. At least I know both Joe and I were kind of waiting and hoping there would be a Alexander Natalie resurgence, and so we are grateful for that.
We were too. Hoping for the resurgence as well.
The Alexander Natasance.
Yeah. We were all hoping
were
for
really
it.
clamoring for it. They're like, wait, play Tennessee, and then
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the process of just kind of coming back to it, re-engaging with it as a vehicle for your songwriting, continuing to work as a band, and kind of going into all the different doors and caverns that come with being in a band, whether it's just releasing the music, recording, playing shows, shit like this.
I think one thing with it that I was like thinking about earlier is I hadn't really thought about how much like COVID affected everything, and sort of like put a pause on the more communal aspect of it. That sort of led to a lot of the second record, a lot of it being Wilson and I working on like a lot of it for a period of time, but it is so nice to be back in it in this collaborative way with like everyone involved, and getting to be Eric for a long time. He would fill in for Sam at shows on guitar when Sam, for one thing or another couldn't be there. But having Eric cemented in full time now has been really amazing, and getting a chance again to do sessions like we just did before this, and being back to being a unit it feels like a dream come true after a little pause.
Yeah, no, I definitely agreed in the sense of this album is so funny to me because it's all new music, and this it's new to putting it out into the world, but also it is funny to me how much I'm so proud of it, and I love these songs, and so much of it was we got to get these songs out, but these are old as fuck. Can I swear?
Yes.
Okay.
Swearing is okay.
We had
can we vape? Can we swear?
Yeah. Because we almost played 651 at the album release show for the first album. Because I thought it would be cool to kind of preview what was coming next.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of these songs are old as fuck.
And they're old, and it like you said, we recorded it in such a way where Collarbone, the version that's on the album, was the first song recorded, and it was recorded like right after the first album came out, kind of. And then I lost the hard drive that like all those songs were on, so we had this just one version of Collarbone, and we liked it so much that we didn't want to redo it, but also like it's not like perfect. So we just ended up using this like one MP3 that we had like sitting on a drive, like Google Drive somewhere. Like, and that was, so I mean, that recording is what, like 6 years old or whatever.
Yeah,
and
from like 29, like early 2019.
yeah. And, but it is just funny to where it's like, even though I'm so glad these songs are out and I'm very proud of them, but also I feel like such a huge part of it was like, thank God this is like out, so now we can like fucking move on. Like I'm like excited
100%.
to like, I'm excited to make like actually sit in a room with everybody and like make new music and stuff, because while these songs are like awesome, it felt like until we got this out, we like couldn't fully like move forward.
Yeah. No, 'cause I think at least like 2 or 3 of the songs were like recorded and released as like singles, like
yeah,
Tennessee, Nosh, I think
and 651.
651
Yeah.
were all out.
Yeah.
And they're not too dissimilar on the record, even if they were re-recorded. You would know that, I wouldn't. Yeah, just I guess also I'd love to hear about kind of that process of revisiting those songs, both just fleshing it out live and in rehearsal with a band, engaging in that aspect of that communal aspect of the band, because that's such an important part of it, just I think for all of us, but even something that the lyrics I think certainly touch on. And there's that distance and finding ways to reduce that distance between yourself and community. And yeah, all 4 of you can speak to that. We have all 4 of you here. We love to get as much content as possible.
Sam weigh in.
All right.
About getting back to the songs and getting back together. So we're kind of on.
Yeah. Because we.
Don't just force him to say.
I'm not going to force him to say.
Well, I just
No.
make it.
What it was is that I think what was hard with kind of what I was saying before with COVID and kind of interrupting things is, in a lot of ways, we were kind of robbed of the collaborative process with making this record. For example, Eric like joined officially like while a lot of the record had already been recorded. And so then there was some stuff that bass got added in kind of like as it was going, but a lot of it we had down with like sort of scratch bass, that then he went in and did his own thing over.
Right.
But it
definitely, obviously like any album is collaborative, but like it did feel like there wasn't that, like it felt like more like we were just like piecing these puzzle pieces together like far apart from each other. Like I don't feel like we like really got many opportunities to like sit down as a band and like make this album. And I feel like even though I'm like proud of the songs, like that I'm excited to be able to actually like do that. Like because we didn't get to do that.
Well, I think it maintained the collaborative thing in that it was the record was mostly like the Wilson and Noah in a room, and I think they had enough time, and like they both definitely could have been like, hey, we like have sat with this for so long, we have these parts, like why don't you just play this? But it was never that way. It was always kind of like come in and just create, like just do something, you know what I mean? Like so that was fun for me, and it was so like segmented and took long enough that sometimes when I listened to the record at the end when it came out, I was like, like replace my guitar part? And they're like, no, you did that again, and I didn't remember. I didn't remember.
I think that definitely also was like one of the things that, with these songs being sold, like kind of reinvigorated me wanting to do it. Was like that, like having you guys come in and put down those parts was like, oh yeah, that's right. Like this is fun. It's like, because before that it was it's these like things that I've been sitting on for years that are just like eating at me.
Yeah, I had the same thing as Sam, where I had recorded bass parts and didn't remember recording them. So I was like asking, like, did you guys like record bass, or is this all me? And they're like, it's pretty much all you. There's like one song where a couple notes are Wilson, I think, but it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Unless you guys are lying.
No one plays like you, Sammy.
Yeah. I think that's something that you know, as the person in the band who, you know, at least writes the like starting point of it, that's something I feel really blessed about, is to just work with all people who I just trust completely and know are going to show up, and like what they bring is always going to be good, and they just kind of know how to serve the songs, which is why, kind of to Sam's point, like, you know, there maybe I could have said, oh, this is how it's going to be, but I don't want that. I like doing my piece, and then I like having, you know, my best friends come in and make their own little mark on it. And I'm blessed enough to only play with people who can do that.
Yeah.
I think the one person doing everything kind of model is cool, but I think it's overblown. I think like everybody wants that, like the Kevin Parker,
like the team of Paul is just one guy.
And like that's cool, and it's you know, God bless the talent and the discipline, but I really do think you get better results if you just lean into being a band and trust people and like find
That's fun. It's fun hanging out with your friends.
Well, and I think that this album in general is such a, like, you can, like, I love that first album for what it is, and I'm like, I think I like it a lot more now than I did when it came out, just because obviously it's like hard when you make something to like, and that was the first album that like no one I had ever recorded. Like, and so it's like you kind of picked it apart, but then like I do like it a lot now. But there is that, I think that was so different about this, where that felt like when you guys came in to like record that, it was like they were set. Like those songs were what they were, and they were like very good, but it definitely, there wasn't much of a like, I think this was a lot more fun and like really kind of figuring out like what we were doing and messing around with stuff. And I think you can hear everybody's influences come through a lot more on this album. Sure. Like you can hear a lot more of like the way Sam plays guitar on this, and like, you know, yeah. So I think that's really, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And like, despite the fact that these songs have existed for so long,
right,
you still found a way to kind of reconnect with that.
Yeah.
And it's that's a weird thing that I don't think there's been any other point where in our lives where like there's just that sudden disconnect where it's like, everything is different now, and then trying to come back to that, well, and revisit the music you were working on much more solo or distanced, and then having that kind of revitalized excitement about what's coming next, and still like finding that balance. And sounds just like, no, we're just gonna put out the record, fuck this, just like just drop it.
It wasn't stale. It didn't feel stale when it came out.
Yeah. Like, and especially I think that can come across as a listener, as like someone who is looking in from the outside. Like, it's like, oh, this is kind of like a cast off release, and then like the real thing is going to come later. This is still like, no, this is a full, intentional, well-crafted, intentionally crafted record. And yeah, I think that collaborative sense is palpable.
Yeah, and there were a lot of iterations. Like we were talking about, like Wilson and I were talking about Nosh the other day, and about, I think over the course of like those 6 years or whatever, I did like 6 or more versions of vocals.
Right.
And the ones, at least the vocals, the ones we settled on were,
nothing was working forever. And
like
that was the
a week before we put the album out or something. We settled in on it.
Put on the song, and I was like, okay, I want you to come in, and I want you to just like be so quiet. Just like be the most like quiet you've ever been. And like just thinking like maybe this will work. And
it did.
We were sitting there while he was doing it, and I was like, I think I said afterwards, like, I almost fell asleep during that in the best way possible.
Yeah, I mean, so it was, that sort of attitude existed throughout the whole thing of like, keeping it from getting stale. It was definitely being worked on and tinkered with, like up until the very end of it.
Well, and even like, I remember there were like early, because we've had the name and the album artwork since, once again, like 2019, 20.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And so like we like figured that out like before we had recorded anything. We're like, okay, so here's the art and here's the name.
Yep.
And then like I remember there was like versions of the album where like it's gonna have like 50 songs, and we're gonna have like Sam songs on there, and like Fred, like I remember like our friend Henry, like we were like there'll be like a couple. We were asking people for like old like phone demos, and we were like, do you have like songs on your phone that you like don't think you're ever gonna use that like you want to like put on this album? And like so yeah, there was like a version of the album that did. I think it had like 30 to 40 songs and like a bunch of like small songs, and like then these and like and then. So there's been a bunch of different versions of this album that we kind of concocted and eventually fell upon this one.
Yeah. We settled for concise.
Yeah.
we settled for concise and
a little more of a coherent vision. And like the sprawl of having
something, like a little more
4 or
listenable.
5 different songwriters.
Yeah.
Like even like a Beatles album, like no, Ringo gets one.
Yeah.
There's not like 6 Ringo songs to balance out with all the other ones. Like that would just be a lot of damn songs.
Yeah.
Not every album needs to be that. It can be collaborative in a more invisible but still like a palpable way than just having like each of you wrote 5 songs and we're all came together. Not knocking that necessarily.
And also the way that Noah writes songs is like they have a lot of room in them already. He's pretty good at leaving space. He's not overbearing when it comes to his songs.
Yeah.
Without, I kind of hate being as direct, but I am curious with the album title and where that idea came from and how it was inspirational to you as you were, especially in that early stage, starting to piece the record together before spending time kind of tinkering it, bringing in bandmates to record and arriving at where we're at now. But like where, because that's just like such an interesting kind of unexpected term for anything. And like even if it isn't like whenever you Google it, I think it comes up with the little Studio Ghibli guys.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's directly that or just like the word, like the translation of the word.
For sure.
Both, like without unpacking that too much.
It was basically just that when we came out with like a live video of us playing a few years back. It's called Live from the Bottom. And when I remember one day I was at Noah's house and I was editing it, but you weren't there. It was me and Colby.
Yeah. Shout out Colby.
Shout out Colby. And I in that video, there's like a part where there's like a fade and there's like this animation where it's like I hand drew like 100 cells of animation like over Noah playing this guitar and they like come in. I don't know. Point being is it's the whole photo is like all 100 cells of that scanned and put on top of one another. And I did that and I like scanned them all in and I saw that. I was like, ooh, that's like really cool looking. And so I had this like thing that I was like, this looks really neat. And then I was with Colby that day and I showed it to him and he was like, oh, that looks like one of those little like Studio Ghibli guys, like whatever they're called. And we looked it up and we saw that they were called Susu Watari. And so then we told you, like we showed you the art and you were like, that's really cool. That should be the album cover. And then we said it looked like a Susu Watari. And I think we just said like, yeah, we should just call it that. And then I remember like 2 days later, you were like, you know, I thought about it and I am going to call it. That was basically, I mean, you had reasoning behind it, but that was from my perspective, the story.
I mean, it looks like it. And then, I mean, I think I at that point I was, you know, taking it to a more like thematic place, like, you know, in the movies and stuff, it's like you only see them when, you know, light suddenly goes into like a dark space and things like that, and you know, light coming in, and I mean that's like this is the happy side of the coin compared to the first record for sure. I mean, in a lot of ways you could sort of thematically talk about light coming in and showing the little dusties running away.
Well, and I remember you saying you said you were thinking about like these songs on the album and how much they talked about kind of like home and community and like feeling, and like I think you basically just said like those movies, whether they directly talked about it or they just like felt like that to you.
Oh yeah,
also played into it. So I mean, it basically is just.
Yeah, it's kind of face value.
That.
What
Yeah.
it's kind of like on its face. It's like
how
what you.
Susu Watari can inspire all my songs, my lyrics.
No, it was less so much that and more. We accidentally made a thing that kind of looked like it, and then we're like, oh, this like actually kind of like fits together.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm guessing like, and that's why at least the title track kind of is so loose. It's just kind of repeating that phrase with like the harmonies and the guitar.
Yeah, that was a weird thing that I just like did one day, and there were 2 versions of it. There was like a different one that I don't even remember, and I sent both of them to Wilson. I was basically like, which of these do you like? And he liked the one that was on the album, and that was kind of that really helped kind of solidify the sort of format of the record that existed. Having that having that intro helped sort of frame the scope of it, at least for me, as like a very clear starting point. There wasn't any questions of like, what's the first song? What's the flow? It was, this is how it opens. This is how it starts.
Which was another thing that took like forever, that first song, because there was like
recorded
10
a billion versions of
first
that.
song. And like there was Noah's thing, that was him playing guitar and saying like "Sue Sue Sue Sue," and that was it. And then I would like put a bunch of stuff over it, and I'd be like, "This sucks." Then I'd delete it, and then I'd do it again. I'd be like, "This fucking sucks." And like we knew we wanted something like to build and to do it, but like nothing worked. And then finally, like once again, I think it was like a month before the album came out or something. It wasn't that long, but finally got it. I was so happy. That was like the biggest thorn in my side. Was like I said, I think when you have like such an idea that's so strong for something, and you're like, I know exactly what I want to do, and you just like can't do it. That's the most annoying thing in the world.
That's just kind of programming.
Yeah.
Well, I want to make it do this. It just kind of hurts for a while. Yeah. Getting a little bit more kind of into the record itself. It feels like it's very much reckoning with past lives, past actions, past friendships and relationships, and how those things still kind of can swallow the present a little bit, and just our past community is still very much part of present community, even like just among all the individuals that are there. And so just as you, maybe this is probably the most Noah specific question of the night.
Ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, Wilson, shut the fuck up. Yeah, just where was your head at as you were?
Well, it was in a lot of places.
Yeah.
But I cut you off though.
No, that it covers a lot of ground while still kind of having this emotional through line that I think sometimes is what reveals itself. Like once you someone sits down and like, I'm going to make an album, this is going to be what it's about. Sometimes you kind of realize that after the fact, and then kind of start to thread it together. You're like, okay, this is how all these things are kind of relating in my head, and how do I make them make sense in song form?
Yeah, I think the way that I write songs very like stream of conscious, and most of it, like, it either comes out in one sitting or it's all the like first things that stick. I try really hard not to, in this particular project with writing, I try not to kind of revise stuff very much. I want to try to keep things as guttural as possible, sort of first instinct, which sometimes leads to me looking back and going, I don't really like that I said that, but it worked at the time. And, I'm interested in capturing those feelings in the sort of like most raw, unfiltered version as possible. And with writing songs themselves in a stream of consciousness way, like as time goes on, it kind of happens. In the first record, everything was pretty well in that moment. But then in the second one, I'm a little older. And as you get older, you look back more and you reflect more. I mean, when the first album came out, I was like 21 or 22. When this one came out, I was 27. Before I was kind of just a guy. It came out, I was, about to get married and had a dog, and, was like a totally different phase of life. And in that, looking kind of back more, and like 20s moves fast, you change a lot, but it's, I think everybody and everything like remains important and significant, be it good or bad. But it's, I think I carry everything with me all the time. And I just try to acknowledge that for better or worse, which I tried to do on the album a lot of just, I mean, nothing's really gone or forgotten. ever, at least in terms of me and the way that I experience relationships and life and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with that just very of the moment approach to writing the songs, I imagine it feels maybe surreal, strange, not in like a bad way necessarily, but just to continue to sit with and revisit and grow those songs and have them so strongly associated with maybe like a certain time, maybe not like an exact moment, but like, yeah, this was kept it as it is to capture those feelings kind of in amber, and now we're working with that.
Yeah, it creates a blessing and a curse model for that exact reason.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess with that is kind of like the initial like bone construction of the songs and like how the lyrics came together with the music, especially as it started to evolve and like everyone else was brought into the fold. What does that, like, you're kind of decorating the amber almost, like what has that been like for all of you? How do you try to fit yourselves within that space, since Noah, like I think you said, Sam, that Noah's songs leave a lot of space for those things, for other people to bring their own kind of paintbrush, their own color. Yeah, I don't know if that was too meandering, but if that made sense. But yeah, I'd love to hear from everybody kind of on that front, if you have any thoughts.
The mic is nearing my mouth.
Okay, Wilson's gonna go.
Okay, well, I think for me, like I don't have like a different role in the band than like Sam or Eric do necessarily, but like I do think that maybe there's an aspect of like I feel like maybe my job is to like everybody comes in with like their ideas, and like I'll maybe kind of like pick and choose, like, or I think this used to be my job more, or like not my job, but a thing that I did more was kind of like, okay, like everybody's doing stuff, especially when we had a ton of members, like, so let's like, we'll pull this part out, we'll leave that part in, we'll like do this. And I feel like that was like another thing that was very different with this album, was that I didn't feel like we were ever like not including stuff very much. Like I feel like people, if anything, we had to like beg people to like do more things, like, or not beg them, but like I feel like everybody, this band is just a lot of fun to play in because I feel like everybody's just really, really good. And so like I think it's so fun to like, I don't know, like there's just something where, like you said, every song has this very clear, you know, it's like, I think because you write Stream of Consciousness, it is like, it's about your life, but like I feel where it's coming from. And it's like, I'm there too. And like, not in your life, but like, I feel like your songs are so visceral for me because like I can listen to a song and I'm like, I can tell what like, you know, season this was written in. I can tell, like, I know what part of your life, like I know how I felt. And I feel like that really comes through where everybody's like, I just feel like everybody comes in with stuff that I'm like, wow, this is how this song feels. Like, I don't know. And like, I can't, it is one of these things where I want to say something more like insightful to it, but it really does just come down to me. Like, I feel like everybody's just so good at like we'll do something and you're just kind of like, yeah, that's it. Like that, like that's what this song is. Like, you know, like I said, like after like 2 months, Sam will come in and we'll be like, all right, do you have like something on guitar for this? And he'll be like, I don't know, I came up with something. And then he does it and you're like, yeah, that's like perfect. Like, I don't know. It's like I said, that's not like an interesting point to just be like, everybody's just really good and just comes in and does their job like really great. But I think that does tell me something about how, like, I think there's a reason, and I think it's because people feed off the songs, and I think people do like know, like, yeah, like I know what this is supposed to be. Like I think people can like feel it, and I think that's something that's really cool about your songwriting is that I think it's just it's just very truthful and feels very real, and like I don't know, it makes me feel.
Thank you. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, I think for me, I never played bass before joining this band. so it was like kind of learning the role of a bassist and like how I can provide the space for everyone's, like being in a band with 3 guitars. There's just like a lot going on. So like, it's just kind of fun to figure out how I can like provide a sturdy backbone for the rest of the guys to like explore their guitar stuff. And all my bass lines are extremely simple, and I feel like I get to just sort of sit back and play them and listen to everyone's like cool guitar parts.
But I feel like they're simple, but at the same time, there's so many songs like in Like Flowers when you like drop down to that note, or like there's so where like I feel like what you're doing. I mean, this is the case with bass in general, but like you're driving like it's you're in a tough spot.
It's crucial.
It's like you're in a tough spot because there's so much going on, but at the same time, like I feel like there are so many moments on the album where like what you do makes the song, and so like I think you're really good at that. Of like even though you're sitting back.
Well, thanks.
And I'm excited on like future stuff. Like this is another thing where the way we made this album, which is like Eric's a fucking amazing guitarist, and vocalist and all this stuff in his own right. And I feel like we didn't get to like utilize that on this album because these songs were like largely written. So it was like, well, Eric's gonna come in, he's gonna do his bass. So I'm excited to make further music where it's like, well, we can actually like use all of Eric's talent, like you know, like have him play maybe other things besides bass, and like you know, like I'm excited. I think, like I said, there's just too much talent in this band, you guys. Just everybody's
Right, we get it, you're talented.
Well, I do. Okay, I'll say one thing. The stream of consciousness, kind of the way Noah writes. I feel like it's a little bit of in your role as like almost like an editor,
right.
A little bit. I feel like when I was recording, it felt that way for me because I'm a little bit more like if I can do a million takes, I would and I will. But in this band, it's a lot like, cool, got it, moving on.
Yeah.
And I think it works. I mean, the product, it speaks for itself. The album speaks for itself. I think that it's like a through line with this band, and that, like, there's not a lot of questions asked. Like Noah might be like, I like that, or I don't like that. But other than that, he'll not be like, hit a C there. You know what I mean? Like, there's no. We never talk. Most of the band doesn't even know the name of the notes.
No, like. I don't. Yeah,
there's an H, right?
Yeah, there's an H.
Eighth note.
But yeah, that feels like a consistent thing that the band is. We just kind of hop on board, and it seems to work out.
Yeah,
You can all tap into the energy of each song because it is so kind of the conduit is so rich, and you're tapping into it because it has this solid basis.
Yeah,
and then you can add in all your individual color flourishes and whatnot, and without a whole lot of like pressure to like, oh, I have to do all these really technical or like exacting things because there's like this fucking vision that we have to.
Yes.
It's like you see it, and you can just kind
the
of.
The vision could be as simple as like a song like Ashland. Like I don't know why, like it's so on the nose, but like. No. Sorry, it's so on the nose. My bad. I talk with my hands. But I remember Noah's apartment on Ashland Avenue in St. Paul. I don't know why. Like it doesn't. The song wouldn't speak to that if you didn't have the picture of the apartment in your head. But I can just see it, and like a lot of because Noah and I have known each other for a long, long time. I know where like the song, like the setting of the song, and. I don't know. That's every time we play them, it brings me right there.
Yeah,
I really like that about your songs.
And I think when you start with really strong songs, they're like, and there's 3 guitars, and there's like all this stuff going on. There's a lot of songs where it is the kind of thing where it's like, well, there are songs where I just don't do anything. It's like, and I think that's like a nice thing too, is people know when it's like I don't have to play here, and I think there's a lot of that. Or I think we got better at that, but I think there's a lot of that of just understanding like I don't need to play during this part of the song. There's this going on, or like maybe I just play like one note and I just like strum it, and like I think there's a lot of people playing under their ability, and like I think that is I like that a lot as well. Of you, once again, the songs kind of speak for themselves, and so like you don't you don't really need to do all that much. I don't think there's any like pressure, because like I never hear one of the songs and go like, God, this needs a lot of work. Like it's more like
I'm waiting for that day.
Right. It's more like a thing where like
send it to the cleaners.
It's just like a fun thing of like, oh, what can I like? What do I get to add to this?
Yeah, I think just having experienced it, talked to enough bands, it feels like a hallmark of maybe not necessarily like a second record, but like the process of like working together and kind of having that sense of settled.
Yeah.
We don't all have to come in and be like, oh, the spotlight's on me.
Right.
It's like, no, you're contributing to the song in a way that benefits the song. And like you said, you're kind of like almost like underutilizing your technical talent.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that in and of itself is almost a harder skill to develop than just sitting at home like ripping scales.
Oh,
You can't really sit and be like, how do I fit into this song?
Right.
That's hard to like. You can't intellectualize that. It's just
Right.
lived.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the record speaks to that.
Yeah, and I don't like. I do exactly as much as I want to do. like I write and come up with exactly as many ideas and things as I want to have, and I have everyone around me who I want to have included, and I know what they bring to the table, and I want them to do that.
Yeah.
Which is what's really nice. That's why why that space is there. I'm like, this is for you guys to fill.
Yeah.
And
Except there was the one hanging point on the album, which was Sam's solo in Ashland.
Yeah, that is true.
This is kind of what I'm talking about, which is Sam would come in and he would do this like killer solo, and I would show it to Noah, and Noah would go like, I just want this to like rock more. And like that was like that Sam would come in and I'd be like, yeah, I guess like you need to like rock more, like you need to like shred more. And then like Noah would come and be like, I want this to really like shred. And we finally got it, but it was we had to.
I guess that was That one I did. Like, that was an idea that I wasn't.
That's the one thing I can remember you just being explicitly like, no, this needs to like fucking.
This isn't really a shred band.
Yeah, I know. That's why
I know, like,
You're not gonna do like the eruption riff in the middle of Ashland or something.
Whatever Boss wants, like we'll do it. It ended up being fine. And actually, I will just a quick aside. I get to play guitar like I don't get to play guitar anywhere else.
Yeah.
I get to spread my wings.
Yeah, I guess I did. Yeah, but when I want something, I'm gonna get it.
You always get your way.
When Papa wants something.
Yeah. When I want it to shred, you're gonna shred.
We're on
It might take 6 years, but I'm gonna get you to shred.
Those intangible and like kind of like weird things. Like I want it. Like it's like I don't know how. It's like, oh, add this chord or something. Like, you don't know how to explain how to make it rock more, or how to add more grit or so and so. But that's kind of like that mind to mind, like trust and I have faith in. In this case, you have faith in Sam's ability to like understand that in your own way and create that. And then when it gets there, everyone will kind of feel settled with it. That's usually I feel like that's like a jazz thing. Something like when it's like think about wind.
Yeah, see, that's on the. I was saying a lot of shit like that when we were making like the first record.
Yeah,
I was saying a lot of stuff like that when we were making the first record. Like, I'm like, this needs to feel like windier. Not when you like just with Wilson.
So you just feel like more blustery.
Yeah, he was the only one who had to deal with me being like, this needs to be like windier. I did say that like a few times.
You're just sitting there, just like, oh god, so mad.
Well, I think I understood at the time. I think Noah and I on that first album especially were equally as like pretentious and annoying. You maybe had me beat a little bit.
I did,
but
I had everyone beat.
But like I said, I didn't listen to that album for like years, and then I listened to it again and I was like, oh, this is like, I like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it is what it is. Like it, and it's not well recorded, but it's better recorded than I thought. Like I said, it was literally the first thing we had ever like tried to record. Like we recorded Nosh. Nosh is a pre-Alexander Natalie song technically, and Noah and I we have a version somewhere that's
from like 2016.
Yeah, from like 2016. The greatest
for the 10th anniversary
history.
Reissue. Like the disc of B-sides and demos.
And we recorded that, and
the drums were a clock ticking.
It was true. It was a sample of a clock ticking. That was the drums. It sounded like that.
Yeah,
but and. So I think based on that song is kind of why we did, like, you asked me to record it. And then And then we were just really, I was like, how do you mic drums? And like, I've only ever mic'd a clock. So yeah, it was an experimental process, but I mean, so was this album. So was Susu, honestly. I guess point being is it's not like something I've been doing forever. We've been doing forever. And so hopefully just with each one, they'll just get better and better.
Eventually we're going to make like a Steely Dan. Right?
Yeah. Eventually we're just going to be
it has to be the how to recorded record of all time and cost like $100 million just in engineering somehow. Like, I don't even know how that translates to money. How does that have value? Like what? It's a microphone. You don't.
Yeah, there's not enough shredding. It's taking forever because there's not enough shredding.
We keep on trying out different shredders. And,
Just all session musicians coming in.
It's like, where's the wrecking crew of Minneapolis? We don't need that. Think about the record as a whole with the benefit of even a little bit more hindsight, since it's not like we're talking about it like the week that it came out or like before it's released when it's finished. It's been a few months even. It's been almost half a year since it's come out.
Time goes fast.
Yeah. Individually, perhaps, what's something that you feel like you learned through making this record, kind of just about your own instruments, your own musicianship, your own creativity, just something more intangible and kind of invisible like that might not always be apparent in the moment, but when you look back, like, oh, this kind of taught, like, I feel like I sharpened this skill or developed this kind of sense of things, or maybe like, nah, I'm fucking perfect, I didn't learn anything. Okay.
I've always felt insecure because I feel like I like to play chords like Noah does and sing. And so I'm not typically like playing lead guitar. And so I'm pretty insecure about it. But with this record, and I also I really admire Wilson as a guitar player. I think because I've known you for so long, like you've influenced me a lot. So I think when I would listen to the record back, there's two things I took away. And that, I would listen to parts and I'd be like, that's got to be Wilson. Like, I can't play guitar like that. Which sounds like a little self-serving, but I was like pleasantly surprised. I was like, no way. Like, I can do that. And also I took away, I was like, I have taken a lot from you. So thanks, Wilson.
Well, haven't we all?
I mean, in my own way.
Haven't we all?
Haven't we all?
I haven't.
From me specifically.
So
I'm not influenced by Wilson at all. I want to get that on the record.
So I just feel like, I don't know, I'm a product of being in this band, knowing these guys.
Yeah. And I mean, very much like same. Like I feel like for me this is the obvious, which is just what I just said of like, I literally am just like learning how to actually like record things better and like, but like, and I think that there's so much of like a lot of like the drums on this album are like played amazingly, but I did not like record them well because I didn't know like how to record at the time. And there's like things like that of like, I feel like that sort of less is more like I feel like that was kind of my main takeaway is like, I'm really excited to just like, I am really excited to just make an Alexander Natalie record that like is like made right. Because like, not that this one's made badly. It's just like, it'll be fun. Like, I think that there are points where like, I will listen to those, like the drums or something, and I'll be like, man, that's like so cool. I wish I had like done my part better and like conveyed this better or something, like, and like I'm excited to just kind of use that as like
apply those skills.
And I mean, in the same way with the first album where it's like these drums are so much better sounding than the drums on the first album. But like that being said, like it's, it keeps moving up, but like I think with the kind of way that everybody plays, like I've said a million times now, everybody's just really good, and I'm excited to just kind of further be able to like, maybe that's what I feel like my job is like, I want to capture how good everyone is and like have that just like, ultimately I don't want to have to like do all that much stuff to these songs, which I think was something that really happened on the first album. We were trying to add like weird effects and make everything like, we got to make this like weird. It's got to like, do something strange, or it's got to be like soaked in a bunch of reverb, or it's got to like have this like finding like, whereas like I think further and further with this album and like the stuff that we have planned and stuff, I think we're just going more in the direction of really trying to like pare it down to just like, it's just everybody playing really good and sounding really nice and really good songs. And yeah,
I think for me, listening back to the record, a lot of my bass playing, like I said, it's like very simple, and most of it was like recorded usually like the day I heard the song or something. I figured out a pretty simple bass line and just laid it down. And then in the months since then, we've played a handful of shows and practiced a bunch, and I've slightly made modifications to how I play certain things, and it's making me think like, oh, I wish I could have gone back and like changed one note on this because I found a cooler thing to do here.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to on the next record to like just let the creative process like have a little more breathing room, and like just spend more time figuring out like how I can best serve the songs like we were talking about.
yeah.
I think that's like everyone has kind of spoken to just kind of growing, just having everyone kind of having room to grow in the project and growing in it. And that's fun for me. That's fun for me, that as I get better at, what I do, and I get better at writing songs and playing guitar and singing and doing all of those, to have, to get to in real time as, my work and my craft gets better, to have, Wilson get better at engineering and production, and then help my stuff shine through, and have, Sam and Eric only get better every day, and everybody like to all grow as a unit, to not have the joking wall of like session musicians happen of getting a million shredders. And it's like, I think everybody here and everybody in the project is that good. It's just I think a very integral part of this lately, and something that stuck listening to the record back once it was done, because the songs had been around for a long time, like we talked about, and I've sat with them longer than anybody, but having it be together as like a whole album and one cohesive piece, I said when the album came out, when I was talking to my wife, I was like, there's so much like brotherhood on this, which felt really, really nice, because I feel like that's an integral part of this whole project. And I didn't like set out and go like, we're gonna like really sound like friends on this one.
We're gonna really bro.
Yeah, like I didn't sit down and be like, we're gonna have like a lot of like guy time on this. But there is, this band, it is a very brotherly band, and the fact that came through was just so sweet and natural and beautiful. And it's, you mentioned community, earlier in the way that I talk about it. It's, that's obviously, because it's all over the songs and everything. Yeah. It's just, that's really important to me. And being around, having this band be, its own little communal ecosystem is, it's one of the most important things in my life. And to have it be like stamped out there in such a nice way as this last album, it's just really nice.
And I too, like, this doesn't really have to do with this, but like I think that there is like a really fascinating, where like we all have different projects and stuff that eat up a lot of time, and like and so I feel like there will be times where this band doesn't do anything for like, there have been times where this band hasn't practiced for, a year.
Yeah.
And like, but it's genuinely amazing how we can like not practice for a certain amount of time, and we'll be like, oh, we have a thing, we have to like practice. And you always go into that kind of going like, well, like, we'll shake off the cobwebs. And like every single time I feel like we play, and I'm just like, damn, that was awesome. Like, and like, I feel like that it's one of those things where it's like, it's because it is, that's what it is. Like, I feel like it just has such a natural feel to it that it's like, you don't really need to be like rehearsed. It just kind of is what it is, and it always sounds like I always walk away from those like first practices being like, wow, damn, that was really good. Like I felt really good about that, and everybody sounded really nice, and like I don't know, I never have to worry about like this band like not doing well at a show or something like that, and like not, I don't mean that in the sense of like, but just it, like I feel like we could, if somebody told us like we want you to play an hour and a half set and you have to make everything up, I would genuinely be like, yeah, we can do that. Like, I think we could 100% just like fake our way through an hour and a half and have no problems with it.
Yeah, 45 of those minutes are just gonna be like weird jammy covers.
I mean, yeah, but like that being
but-
said, I think they'll sound good. Like I genuinely think that's true.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing about all of that. Don't laugh. No,
I'm laughing at myself.
no, I'm saying thanks, buddy. No, no.
Thanks for that.
I don't want to be patronizing.
That is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I kind of brief towards the end of our conversation, but since this band has only continued to cohere and settle in as a unit, and you've all mentioned looking forward to continuing to expand that collaborative sense on new music and just revisiting old music and how that all kind of synthesizes. So I'm curious, what does the immediate future for the band kind of look like? Besides, I mean, to at least take some kind of a deep breath. You've had some time to do so after putting out a record, because that's always a big thing.
Well, we have.
Then like you keep moving.
Yeah, well, Noah has like a whole album's worth of songs written, so
Yeah, I was all blocked up while this record was there. I was bound up.
that's a little Alexander Natalie
Yeah,
humor.
it's a little self-ref. That one's for the fans. But yeah, I couldn't really write anything while the record was in process. But then, yeah, like since it came out in April, yeah, I've got a bunch of songs now. And we're just starting to work on them. As I just started sending stuff to everybody in the last couple days, and getting together in a couple days here to start fleshing them out as a unit. Yeah, I just want it to be really collaborative. Like having it be, I mean, we're going to use the words collaborative, communal, brotherhood. We're going to reuse them a lot.
This drinking game will kill you.
Yeah.
But it is. It's I'm excited to, like Wilson kind of said, like, you know, shining a spotlight on Eric. You know, he's more of a Swiss Army knife than he was, you know, maybe given the space to be on the second the most recent album that came out, just sort of the way it played out and giving everybody
Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan. Yeah. Dylan, getting him on the drums. He's watching the Lynx right now. He's watching the Lynx crush it. Yeah, we should check the Lynx score.
Check the score real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna see if we're like.
But as we've all kind of touched on, like we all get better and better and better.
They are up by 7 points at halftime in Game 5 of the WNBA Finals. So either this is going to be a crushing look back, or just like we'll be super psyched about it in the future.
Coasting on victory.
Yeah.
Riding Rainbow Road.
But yeah, we just grow together, and I'm excited to continue to do that. I know, speaking for myself, like as an artist and songwriter, musician, yada yada, I think for a long time in my life, I wanted to be kind of like a Renaissance man, kind of jack of all trades, do it all. And now I'm like, I want to write a song and I want to sing it and play guitar, and that's kind of, and I want to share it with people, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And to kind of hone in on that, and it's really rewarding to have other people play on your stuff and bring things in, and to have it not just be you. It's nice to have it be songs with your friends and about your friends.
Yeah. Well, that's big. That's a lot of pressure on Eric. I'll say.
We're building up
so
on
much
a
pressure.
lot of-
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of Eric on this next record.
The album's gonna be called Eric.
The Eric sessions.
Yeah.
Well, like
You heard it here
like,
first, folks.
like Eric's a better singer than I am, and he didn't even get to sing on the album. Like, so this is what I'm
Oh.
talking about.
Yeah, less Wilson.
That
more
keeps me
Eric.
I
up
mean,
at night.
honestly, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. Yeah, I mean, no, it is like just genuinely like so nice to be in this band, and like every practice I leave like smiling and like warm feeling, and yeah, I'm just super looking forward to the future of the band.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Where can people find and keep track and support the band? What is the easiest way to do that? Susu is on.
Yeah,
Shut the fuck up.
Deezer, Tidal.
Yeah, Susu's obviously on all streaming services.
It is.
So
yes.
give it a listen if you haven't. I mean,
I
what the hell are you
use-
doing?
I only use Instagram.
You have to upload so many stories. You can take listen to 30 seconds of the album.
I do. I don't use Facebook. I don't use Twitter. So the only way you can keep up with the band is on Instagram.
When he says he doesn't use Twitter, he does use X.
yeah.
I was waiting for someone
Yeah.
to make a joke about that just so I could plan to cut it later.
I use Elon's X. No, but Instagram is the only place. It's at Alexander Nat _A_lie.
Is there a period between the Alexander Nat? I'm actually asking. I don't know.
No, it's Alexander NAT _A
I don't think I've ever like.
LIE. That's fine.
If you just type in Alexander Natalie,
it'll come up. It'll come
yeah,
up.
you don't have to like give
But
like
yeah,
the URL.
Instagram's the only one. Yeah.
Can people buy the album anywhere?
People can buy the album. Yeah, people can buy the album on Bandcamp. Probably technically on iTunes. Maybe even on Amazon.
Yeah,
Don't say
I
that.
know.
I
We
don't.
should come out with some sort of physical copy.
Yeah. That's,
Although were you at? This is totally an aside. I don't want to like add, but were you at our release show for our first album? By
I
any
don't
chance?
think I was. I
Okay.
think Joe might have been able to make it, but like both Joe and their sibling made it
Okay.
to see y'all back in the before COVID and everything, and they kept rubbing it in because I hadn't gotten to it. I was like,
Well, so
Man.
we did our own, like we really DIY'd that first album release. Like we set it up. It was in like a house. We had our own PA, everything, and we decided before that we were like, we want to hand print our own cassettes of the album, and so we had like a machine that like dubbed them, and we hand dubbed each every single one.
And we, like,
we
printed
had to sit
out
there,
all
we
the
printed out all the
things and the
labels,
labels,
ourselves.
yeah.
We did all this stuff. We bought and like did it out of pocket, and we were
Hand
like,
numbered
and we want
them
to
and-
give them out at the show for free. Like that was our whole thing. Was like we don't want to sell them, and we were like so proud of this, and we were like, man, people are gonna be so psyched. And I bet it was like 70% of people. You'd come up and be like, "Do you want this?" And they were just like, "Nah."
we quite literally couldn't give them away.
We like couldn't give them away. I mean, but the people who were psyched were like really psyched, and it wasn't because they were like, "No, this like sucks." They were just like, "Well, I don't like own a cassette player," and it's like, "Yeah, but it's like a thing that you can just like have. Don't you just like want it?"
Yeah.
And I felt like that was such a like, oh my god, we were like on top of the world. Like we just did the coolest thing in the whole world.
You're like, you don't know how many weeks we spent doing this, you guys.
We did that last year and like handmade, hand dubbed tapes and CDs, and then we're like, oh, people are gonna like want to buy them for like not too expensive, like just like kind of well. And then we sold like one. This year we brought them to our next show. And we're like, sold like a couple more.
Yeah.
Like 5 years. And I'm like, hey, you want our 6-year-old CD comp? And
So point being is we should put this album out on like some sort of physical, but also I think we've been spurned by
Yeah. I think vinyl's kind of it seems like vinyl's kind of like what people buy.
when they do buy it, even
Which
if it's
is-
crashing and burning as an industry.
Yeah. But that's obviously, it's more expensive to get your record printed on vinyl than it is to hand make cassettes. It sounds better as well. You do get what you pay for.
Could do
but
a little fun.
yeah.
Just get like 100 of them.
We're not requiring anything to go out. Like
No.
in 2 weeks' time from hearing this, there will be.
No, we're just rambling as we.
But at this time, no, there's only
I'm
the only
rambling.
places you can buy it is Bandcamp and iTunes.
Yeah, there you go.
Or come to a show and
Yeah.
Yeah.
pay to get in.
Yeah, there you
Yes. All those things. But yeah, and we need to do, I say we, I mean I need to, get merch together and things like that. But
Eh.
yeah.
Expensive.
Or just, make this next album and do it right.
and just we're gonna go hard on that one content wise.
Oh yeah,
TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go viral. I'm gonna do dances.
Noah's got his own. Apple
Yeah, I
dance.
can't wait for the like flowers dance.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's gonna go hard. I'm gonna be doing a lot of like the, what was it, unicorning? Was that the thing where you like go to McDonald's and you get the
don't know
like
what
thing and you get like an ice cream cone and you like put it on your head?
I think he's referencing something only like 40-year-olds did on TikTok.
So it wasn't TikTok. This was years ago. Sam.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
This was
I mean, they're
years
40
ago.
now, probably,
Yeah,
but it was like,
They're 40 now.
It was on like Daily Motion or something. I mean,
Any which way.
it was on like fucking. I had another dated website. Gang-
queued up.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
on Reddit.
It's on iFunny.
Yeah.
I mean, any which way, yeah, no. But it's I don't know. Apparently, I guess maybe we need to do that. Maybe that's the key. But
Yeah.
No, when you try to force it, you're just going to end up being miserable, and it's not going to be good content. Not that I hate calling things content, anyways, but
well, yeah, this next album is going to be content.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not an album. It's content.
Yeah, it's content.
yeah, it's for the streamers.
Yeah, this one's for the stream heads out there.
Before we let Wilson ramble too much more, to single you out, and every episode the same way. Probably made you do this back in the day. Didn't make Wilson do it because he was just in the corner like Blair Witch or something.
Well, see, because this is what happens when you give me a
Yeah,
microphone and I
you
talk.
can't get this fucking guy a mic.
No, hey, I thought we were only doing 4 total, and he was gonna have to kind of sit there and like, please, may I have the mic? I like ending every episode with our kind of like recommendation corner is the unpatented name that I've stolen, but just like local bands, DIY bands, friends, enemies, strangers whose music you have been enjoying or exposed to recently. Usually we're thinking local. That makes the most sense since this is a podcast focused on Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the surrounding areas. But just like underappreciated bands that you've come across or rediscovered, just kind of sharing
I know one.
the love.
I'll talk about Sam's band Harlow. Everybody loves Harlow. Let's see. Well, like Haze Gazer. Everybody loves Haze Gazer, though. But obviously, dear friends in Haze Gazer are amazing.
Keep for
shout out-
Cheap.
Keep for Cheap. Nice and Blue. That's another good one. Our friend Baron. People should check out Nice and Blue.
This is just a few days ago. Dusty Forever put out
Yes,
their
yes,
record
yes.
Juno.
Joe was just telling me about that.
It's super good. It's so good.
Hell yeah.
And there's all the. Bugsy, but they don't need us to.
Yeah, Bugsy doesn't need a plug.
I don't listen.
None of these.
I don't
bands
know what
do,
that
but
is. I don't know who that is.
None of these bands need us talking about them, but
Ooh, Hippocampus.
yeah,
They might need a
I'm
bug.
gonna shoot you.
Yeah.
they need the shout out.
I would never do that.
No, those are the homies.
Yeah, I'm kind of unplugged from the local music scene. I don't know. I'm excited to hear the new Dad Bod stuff.
Oh,
Speaking
yeah,
of people,
yeah.
present company.
Jesus fucking hell.
Yep.
Still don't have an album. Come on,
So
guys.
it's coming.
I know.
It's
It's recorded.
It's actually recorded now. So that
Yeah.
means it'll only be like another 2 years.
Maybe 3.
I remember, I think like during COVID, when Joe and I were still trying to make our little like radio show only on SoundCloud. It still happened because we couldn't go break into my college's radio station. We interviewed you and Callie like in the studio or something.
What?
And like, I don't
Must
think
have
it was,
just been in the bop shop.
I think it was just like at like home, but like it was in like it was at, like
we weren't there. What? Who all was there?
just you two.
Oh wait, I do remember.
I don't think it
this.
was like in a studio like the one you recorded the actual record
Right.
in, but like it was.
It would've been
like
the bop
your,
shop.
Oh yeah, it was probably just in my basement.
Yeah, it was just like in your kind of your music space, and I was like, oh, I think you're probably working on the EP. But I just remember like bugging you guys about the album, like, and that was 4 years ago.
Were we all in the same room? Or were y'all?
We were remote. This was like over
Okay,
the phone.
This is what I was. That's what I
no.
thought. Okay.
You and Cal were together.
Now, okay,
Joe
I
and
remember
I,
this.
or whichever the fuck one of us was not in the room.
I do remember this.
Okay.
Well,
no one else does.
Well, we were working on probably that acoustic thing we came. This is not important. But
that was more like a. Did that happen?
Yes.
Was that like? Are we
It
having a
did
Mandela
happen,
effect
and
moment?
It's been so long, but it's coming.
It's coming. It's coming. It's real and it's spectacular. Probably. I haven't heard it actually, but I'm presuming.
This is all we're trying to do. All everybody's trying to do right here. We're just trying to crank out these tunes.
Just crank out some tunes.
Through
Crank out
whatever
tunes.
avenues they be. We're just trying to crank out tunes. That's the
end of the episode.
Yeah. Alexander and Natalie cranking tunes.
Appreciate the tune crankage.
Thank you.
Crankery. I don't know what the term would be.
I like crankery.
Crankery's good.
Cool. I'm glad we could agree on that.
Crankery's good.
Appreciate y'all taking time to
Thanks for
talk about the
having us.
record.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Excited to see what comes next. Definitely, if you listener have not listened to Susu or even Who Could Ever Want Anything So Broken, go back and listen to the first record.
Yeah.
But both Joe and I have clear memories of drinking and being sad while listening to that record like 6 years ago.
I have memories of drinking and being sad and writing the songs and drinking and being sad. And
you don't have
recording
to
the
drink to
songs
listen to
and
it, but
drinking
if
and
you
being
really
sad and
want to,
playing the songs.
if you want to get in the headspace, crack
You
open
wanna get in the
a Coors
headspace,
Banquet or something.
Yeah.
Just kidding. There's not a pro drinking podcast unless Coors wants to sponsor us.
Yeah. We can be bought.
We can be bought. We will be bought. On that note, thanks again, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You have been listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and share so we can stand out against the sea of other music podcasts. You can find information and other important links in the show notes of this episode. If you would like to support us, please consider subscribing on Patreon for early access to live sessions and other bonus content. You can also subscribe to our Substack for a regular newsletter with reviews, ramblings, and anything else we have to say. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.